BYDFi is a crypto exchange on desktop and mobile where you can spot trade, futures trade, use leverage tokens, and copy the trades of top traders. If you sign up with the link in the description, you get a free $100 when you deposit $100. There's hundreds of crypto available on their spot exchange, as well as a free test account so you can practice futures trading without getting wrecked. BYDFi. Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at something that you might find interesting, hopium, but also interesting. It's a Bitcoin dominance chart. We're going to talk about alt season. I've got two coins that, love them or hate them, have reasonably decent setups on them. Not that I'm suggesting you take massive risk on those things, but they're all right. So first of all, we'll have a look at the dominance chart. It's nothing new. I've told you this before. We've hit a 200 simple and exponential on a weekly. Would love to see a weekly closure like this, shooting star from major resistance, and this allows us to come down as opposed to the next major resistance support on the dominance charts weekly, which isn't massive. I have to say, it's not huge, but it's okay. So it starts off with a 10 exponential, about a 1.5% drop, maybe a little higher than that to a Bollinger Band Center, close to 2, but not massive. Maybe even a 2.83% drop to the 21 exponential, maybe. And again, look, this is all in the context of what is a generally bullish chart on a daily, but the weekly is saying, actually, if we're going to get rejected, it's going to be here. Those higher term moving averages on the larger time frames like weeklies, they are like massive supports or resistances. Just to give you an example of something that took place recently would be the one on gold. This is like the opposite of a dominance chart. So we hit the 200 simple moving average on a weekly and basically had a huge, massive catapulting move all the way back up. This sort of thing, is relatively normal, to be honest. It's relatively normal. The sell-off on gold was pretty suspicious, but the bounce did take place on a 200 simple moving average on a weekly. So, these huge, fat, massive, higher term moving averages on weeklies are pretty special, and so that's the situation on gold. And look, the inverse of that may be taking place on the dominance chart, maybe. So if we have a look at the lower term time frames, what do we see? We don't have any bearish divergence. In fact, we are creeping down below a Bollinger Band, but it's neither here nor there. This looks like a continuation of the consolidation. We had roughly getting squeezed between the 50 exponential and the 20 exponential, and the 10, I suppose. So nothing much to be given away there. And the daily could easily find support here, but look, money flow index is relatively high for what it's worth on the dominance chart. Being high on the dominance chart has proven to give us some pullback. So obviously here's a big one that's massively overheated over here, and a big move all the way back down to these levels. So yeah, that was one. Here's another one with a consolidation that came afterwards. Here's another one that had a little bit of a move, but nothing particularly special. Here's another one that consolidated. Here's another one that consolidated. Here's another one that more or less consolidated, a bit bumpy. Not perfect. Money flow indexes on their own aren't magic or special. Here's another one that reached a horizontal resistance. So there's enough evidence, back testing it to suggest that, all right, so we've hit a resistance on a weekly, a major one. We're not massively overheated, but we're outside of the comfort zone on the daily money flow index. So there's evidence, I would say, and there's evidence to suggest a consolidation, and maybe even a consistent downtrend, perhaps resulting in some form of alt relief rally or alt season, if you really want to get particularly excited, but upside on altcoins, we'll call it. So what else do we need to look at for this before we look at these magical coins, which I'm sure you've obviously already looked at, or because you can see them up here. I'm mostly talking Bitcoin, SV, and INJ, so there you go, spoiler alert. Right, Ethereum. We were looking at this last night on the old Patreon live stream. Feel free to join with the links in the description below. Major horizontal here, 1550 we'll call it. It goes back in time a little bit. We've found supports, and recently we've found supports on this as well. We've also got significant bullish divergence on this one as well, with the money flow index, which is reaching quite extreme lows. Not massively extreme, but extreme enough to expect a turnaround. And if we do turn around from this, a decent uptrend, because we'll have plenty of space. This trade's quite high, so this can turn around and actually have a sustained rally without blowing its top off very quickly. Unlike a lot of other altcoins which trade for peanuts at the moment, you'll see the money flow index go from extreme to extreme because the volume's so low. Whereas Ethereum, obviously, you know, we're trading at $250 million. Not bad at all. And this is just Binance's chart. So we'll be looking for this, you know, to maybe find a low around here. Maybe even wick a little lower than this and form one drive, because you only really need one drive of bullish divergence on a money flow index really to get particularly bullish on this. So we got the bull div on the RSI, nothing on the money flow index. On the 4 hourly we had 3 drives of hidden bull. That's all we had. So look, again, hopium is the word of choice here, but it's not just out of nowhere. It's not just blind hopium. It's evidence enough to say that, well, yeah, you might be looking at a short alt rally that's led by Ethereum, and even though the trend is down, there is the evidence there. Bitcoin, just very briefly, still consisting in higher highs and higher lows. You take off all the noise, basically you can still see the trend as far as price action is concerned. Higher highs, higher lows. Turn on the moving averages and everybody else, we see that we're just getting resistance and rejection on all these moving averages. So if you want to see a rally take place on Bitcoin, or you want to feel like the market is a little bit more stable, despite having the higher highs and higher low structure of price action, you'd feel a lot safer by closing dailies above 27,200. Even 27,000 flat, but for me, 27,500, 200 would be above the vast majority of moving averages, and we would also just about avoid that death cross on the exponentials, and would be above the 20 daily moving average, which is a big deal. You know, you're more likely to remain above it, you know, to the tune of 65% if you're at that level. So look, I'm not massively bearish on this if it does continue to go down. Probably testing 26,000 before a decent bounce. That could be a really decent bounce, but a bounce all the same. Maybe just a bounce up to these resistances again. We don't know, but I'm just putting it out to you. This is not an amazing market. It's pretty boring in all fairness. A lot hangs in the balance of Bitcoin's current structure holding, which currently it is, despite moving averages pointing down. Right, so I made a video about this yesterday or the day before. This is one of my favourite altcoins at the moment, as far as technicals are concerned. You know, we go back in time, at least throughout this portion of the bull market that we've had, it's respected pretty much every aspect of its own chart. This is doing everything you would expect a chart to do if it respects the technicals. You know, symmetrical triangle broke down into a rising wedge, broke down. From there we managed to make a new local high more or less, and then we came down to do a golden cross retest, which you'd normally expect to have a V-shaped recovery, and because it's been bullish and so aggressive for so long, we've got a 200 simple moving average which is uptrending, which is definitely good for it as well, and we're respecting that on the way up as well. First target on this one's going to be about $8, then $8.50, and then from there probably up towards 10, but let's not get too overexcited. This is a decent chart, I have to say, definitely a decent chart. We'll take it to a 4 hourly. 4 hourly has cleared all the major moving averages and has now confirmed a pump signal from 762. So this one should be able to take itself back up to 8 now with this kind of setup. And again, you know, it's going to be market dependent, but it looks quite good to me. Now another one that I'll show you, and again this is going to come with a lot of criticism and controversy because I know that it's not very popular. Bitcoin SV, that's right. So we're looking at Bitcoin SV, we might as well just focus on this 4 hourly. Big sharp move up, and then huge massive consolidation. 200 simple moving average was respected, double tested, reclaimed 200 exponential, and Bollinger Band Center, moving. And, you know, whichever way you cut it, you don't really need a trend line on this one. You can use the Bollinger Band itself, but we've broken out of the consolidation now, so you could consider this to be in accumulation. So if this is an accumulation, we've got the top of the range basically being where we're at right now, the bottom of the range being back down here at 32. That's a small little range there to think about, you know, entering into this. We've got a 3 to 4% move down potentially before we hit that resistance again, and then a breakout from this one should be able to, you know, climb its way back up to its previous candle body highs, which is a well, it's a 19% move. So the risk to reward on this one, as of this very moment in time, is about a 3.5% to the down, with a possible 18 to 19% to the up. That's decent risk to reward. Again, you know, this is savage because the volume is usually quite low. This is Bybit's volume. But if you look at KuCoin's volume, it'll be much, much smaller. It'll be tiny, in fact. It's usually very small. Yeah, there you go. So with this, you will find it to be harder to trade on something like KuCoin than it would be on Bybit because the volume it's just tiny. But the setup is the same. It's definitely the same. I think it's always worth having some of this anyway, not because I'm a big believer in it or anything like that. I just know from previous analysis and holding it throughout the last bull market that when it goes, it goes. You know, it really does run. It's got more or less the same fundamentals to it that Bitcoin has and Bitcoin Cash to an extent. So there's not much different to it. And because it trades generally low volume for spot across most exchanges, then if it does run, it can run very hard, similar to a lot of these altcoins. Thou giveth, thou taketh away. So, like BYDFi, as unpopular as it is, it's a chart to be traded. I'm not asking you to believe in what's he called, Craig Wright and all his nonsense. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm not asking you to believe in anything. Only the setup that's presented itself on, you know, in front of our very eyes, and with that should come some major upside, maybe into the 40s, maybe a bit beyond, but we'll see. A lot depends on if Ethereum can hold this area, if the Bitcoin dominance can continue to go down, and given the state of the market right now and the indecisiveness of the market, because of Bitcoin's current predicament, being below major moving averages but still maintaining higher highs and higher low structure, there is no guarantee that any of this is going to work, right? But it's worth pointing out that actually, you know, there is a chance. There is definitely a chance, and there's two charts there that I quite like the look of. Not that they're the best things you'll ever see in the world, not that they're millionaire starter kits, but that they're offering promise of a decent move, risk to reward wise. Anyway, that's basically it for now. There's going to be a million altcoins out there, probably loads of better setups than this. So if you want to leave me a comment in the description, in the comments, sorry, about any altcoin that you think has got a good setup or you'd like me to look at, please do. Otherwise, join the Patreon and we'll look at them on the live stream together. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a nice day and take it easy.